and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. So, India have done the unthinkable. They have managed to lose to New Zealand by 113 runs and on the third day of the second test. This victory of New Zealand over India came out of nowhere. This is the first time New Zealand have ever won a test series in India. In their long illustrious career, this was the one thing that was missing, and they have done it. India have lost their home test series for the first time in 4,331 days. That's equivalent to almost 12 years. The last time that India lost a series at home was back in 2012-13 versus England. That's when Kevin Peterson played their outstanding innings in Mumbai and Monty Panesar and Graham Swan bowled beautifully. But that was then India had been badly exposed. In the first test, they lost all their 10 wickets of 46 runs in 31 overs. In the second innings of that first test, they lost their last 7 wickets for 63 runs. Once again, another collapse. In the first innings of this test match, they were 156 runs and all out. In the second innings, in the second session, they lost 6 wickets. So, didn't bat well, didn't play spin well, they lost absolutely handsomely. There wasn't any chance given by the New Zealanders. They comprehensively outplayed India in every single facet of the game. It's hard for Indian fans to remember their team being outplayed in every facet of the game, be it batting, be it bowling, be it fielding. And Mitchell Santner, the left arm spinner for New Zealand, ran through the Indian batting in both the innings. Once again, the first 6 wickets, Santner had a hand in all of them. 5 he picked up all by himself, and then Rishabh Pant, he ran him out. So Santner was the main destroyer of New Zealand, and it was so difficult to see that Indian players were unable to pick left arm spin bowling. Now, this has been a problem for India for quite some time now. It's time to address these concerns. India haven't played left arm spin bowling well for quite some time. The likes of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma always struggle against left arm spin. Against Bangladesh, Rohit has an awful record because he doesn't play Shakib very well. Virat has the same problem, and in both innings here he was dismissed by Santner. Today also he was dismissed playing off the back foot. In the first innings he missed a full toss and was bowled. So when will these top players score runs? Respectfully, it's time for India to look beyond them. In 1 or 2 years, this Indian team has to undergo serious changes, not only in the batting but also in the bowling department. Virat is 35, Rohit is 36, Ashwin is 38, Jadeja is 36. These are the 4 main players in the Indian side, and they are all going to retire in 1 or 2 years. So instead of allowing them so much space, it's time for India to look for options instead of them. Keep them in the loop and select younger talent. Because in this test match, the New Zealand players had clear-cut plans for both Ashwin and Jadeja. Ashwin looked remarkably flat in this entire series. Not because he bowled very poorly, but the New Zealanders batted exceptionally well against him. They had preordained plans against Ashwin and Jadeja. Every time they would employ sweeps and reverse sweeps. The Indian spinners were not allowed to bowl. They couldn't bowl any maiden overs, which was even more shocking. And on that same pitch, you would imagine that Jadeja would be the main destroyer. And what happened? It was Santner who did the damage. The Indian batsmen simply couldn't score runs off him. The only player who looked good against him was Yashasvi Jaiswal. And he was taking excessive risks, he was dominating the bowling. It's only at that point of time in the entire test match that it looked like that India were on top. And it was for only half a session. 12 overs, 81 runs, 1 wicket at lunch. It was a great start from India. One might have thought that India are going to chase this target or come close. But what this series has shown us that India are prone to collapse and they can't bat well for longer sessions. And that just demonstrated once again in the session post lunch. India lost 6 wickets. As soon as Jaisal went, there was a mini collapse. It was triggered by that same man, Santner, once again. Santner picked up Jaiswal, he picked up Kohli, he ran out Pant, he picked up Gill. He was the main architect behind India's destruction. And it was hard to see because most of the Indian players, apart from Yashasvi, never looked to use their feet against Santner. Now contrast that to the New Zealand players. All of them were coming down the track. They were disrupting the length of the Indian bowlers. They were toying with the bowlers. They were continuously messing with their lengths. They were opting for singles. They were not allowing them to bowl in a particular area. New Zealand is the smartest team going around. And they executed their plans to perfection. Nobody expected them to win. But they dominated India in every facet. No one saw it coming, not even their own experts. Even Simon Dool and Ian Smith in the commentary box, they were surprised more than the Indian commentators were. They haven't seen India play this poorly in quite a long time. And Simon Dool was right when he said that India is no longer a great nation that plays spin bowling exceptionally. Whenever they come up against a good spinner, they tend to struggle. And Mitchell Santner did it. If he had played in the first test as well, India would have lost that comprehensively as well. They did lose it comprehensively, but I doubt whether they would have that great partnership between Sarfaraz and Pant in the second innings because Santa wouldn't have allowed them to. He bowled a beautiful length. It was not as if he was turning the ball big. He was bowling in the right areas. And the Indian batsmen, they didn't have any clue against them. Rohit Sharma in the post-match press conference said that it was a comprehensive failure. They're outplayed in every department. Absolutely true. But this was a huge series for Team India because they needed that confidence to go to Australia. They have to face, they have to play 5 tests over there. And now losing your series at home won't give you great confidence to win abroad against the rampant Australian cricket team who are excessively difficult to beat at home. And none of the Indian batsmen, be it the top order or the middle order, are in any sort of form. That is a huge cause for concern. The squad for the Australia series has just been announced, and the selectors have once again omitted the likes of Cheteshwar Pujara. Pujara in those last 2 series in Australia batted exceptionally well. It was mainly due to him that India managed to win. He may not have scored that many runs, but he resisted the Australian bowling attack for long periods of time. Now look at that batting order. Who is there to play the long innings? Again, India didn't bat for long stretches. Test cricket is there for the long spells of good batting, 90 overs. And in the 4 innings that we played, we didn't bat 90 overs even once. So how can we bat for longer stretches of time when you have so many stroke players in your side? So the selectors should have taken at least this factor into concern before selecting the side for Australia. KL Rahul isn't in any form, still he gets selected into the Australian tour. Yes, KL has a very good record abroad. He is good on those pitches, but he needs to find some touch. He needs to find some form. Abhimanyu Ishwaran is also selected in that squad. You need some proper batsmen in the middle, like say a Hanuma Bihari or a Pujara who can hold the innings. Someone who has the defensive game. It's not just about attack, it's also about defense. You have to wear the bowlers out and then you can reap the rewards. Unfortunately, no one in this current Indian setup thinks that way. Even today, no one thought that way. They were all intent on scoring runs at a quick pace. The Indians never tired the New Zealand bowling attack. They never used the conditions to their advantage. In these hot, humid conditions, teams that come from the outside they tend to struggle. But for that to happen, you need to bat for longer periods of time. If you are getting bowled out within 30, 40, or 50 overs, that aspect of the game doesn't come into play. And India kind of stuck themselves on their own foot by playing such poor cricket. It has been quite long since India have played so poorly, so poorly. They have been outplayed in every department, batting, bowling, and fielding. Imagine Glenn Phillips. He's a part time off spinner and he is picking wickets. He is terrorizing the Indian batsmen. This is a shameful day for India and Indian cricket. Gautam Gambhir, who has taken in the reins as the new coach, he has to take this into consideration because the kind of display that India has put forward in these two matches isn't good. And let's address the elephant in the room. India are no longer good players of spin bowling. It used to be our strength at one point of time, but now it has been our weakness. Even in the Bangladesh series, if you remember, India were 5 down for not so many runs, and Ashwin came in to bat and scored 100. He rescued India from a very dangerous situation. So they forgot about that. Even in the previous series against Sri Lanka, which we lost in Sri Lanka, the ODI series, why did we lose? Again, because we are unable to play their spin. In both the one day matches that we lost convincingly, one factor was common, the inability to play spin. Their spinners completely dominated us on turning tracks. Now, India's players, at least the ones that are playing the test match right now, aren't too sure of their own defense. If you do not believe in your own defense, then you cannot survive for longer periods of time. A classic example of that is Shubman Gill. He was batting well, but every time it seemed like just one good delivery and might get out. So even after spending some time, 46 balls in the crease, Shubman Gill was never settled. After having spent such amount of time, you would expect a player of his caliber to find his touch and dominate the bowling, but no. The New Zealanders always felt they were in the game. It was just a matter of time. Same with Virat Kohli. He played 40 balls and scored 17 runs. But within that 40 balls, he was not confident at all. He was defending, some balls were hitting the top of his bat. The New Zealanders were always interested. He wasn't being able to dominate the bowling. Tom Latham set very good fields. The New Zealand bowlers bowled according to their plan. Santner wasn't allowing them to get cheap runs of him. And the bowlers, they bowled accordingly. Ijaz Patel did have a very poor test match, but that was more than compensated for by the very good bowling of Mitchell Santner. And India showed that for the fourth time in a row, they couldn't adapt to this kind of bowling. It's not T20 cricket. It is Test cricket. You have to bat for longer periods of time. In order to win or defend or draw test matches, you have to bat for long spells of time. Unfortunately, in these two test matches, India haven't batted well for two sessions. They haven't batted well in one session also. They have lost 6 wickets in a session 3 times. And it was not as if the pitches were that bad. Even the pitch today wasn't bad for batting. The Indians played poor shots and got out. They played very poor shots. Mitchell Santner bowled well, but he was aided by some very ordinary batting from Team India. Look at the way Rohit Sharma got out. One reverse sweep for 4, then all of a sudden he comes down the track, tries to dismiss the length of the bowler, and what happens? He plays a nothing shot, gets an inside edge, and is caught at short leg. Then what happens? Shubman Gill, he edges one just before lunch, it bounces over Daryl Mitchell, and the same ball after lunch he edged it similar fashion, he edged it to Daryl Mitchell in slip. So didn't learn from that. Rishabh Pant, it's a criminal offense to get run out in test match, especially when your team is so far behind. There was no need for that single. Yes, it was Virat Kohli's fault. There was no need to take a run. What is the need? You have so much time in the test match. You are struggling. The other team is dominating. You have just lost your most important batsman in Jaiswal. Why throw them yet another chance? There was never a run. Mitchell Santner was in too close. And Virat has this bad habit often that he goes 2 or 3 steps looking for a run, and the partners they automatically oblige and they try to follow him. Rishabh should have said no. In the few overs prior to that, he almost ran out Jaiswal. Such is the current state of the Indian cricket team right now. Lack of confidence is a huge factor. When you are not in form, this kind of things tend to happen. And Virat Kohli has been out of form in Test cricket for the better part of 3 to 4 years. Other players in his situation, like Rahane, like Pujara, they got dropped because their averages plummeted to the mid 20s. But Virat, because of his stature, because of his reputation, has managed to survive. But now even the selectors have to look past him as well. You have to perform in order to stay in the side. The same goes for Rohit Sharma. In his last 10 test innings, he hasn't been good. There were so many scores in single figures. Even today, when the captain was needed the most by the team, they have got off to a good start. Jaiswal was batting so well. The only thing Rohit needed to do was to stay with him, bat with him for another 10 overs, and he threw his wicket away. Santner has just come into bowl. Again, an inside edge caught at short leg. He was never confident of his defense. Left arm spin he struggles with continuously throughout his career. Shakib has got him out numerous times. So, New Zealand have identified the problem. They have made plans for every player, separate plans for separate players. Glenn Phillips, part time off spinner, whenever there is a left hander, he is employed by Tom Latham. He got Washington Sundar out. Beautiful catch by Will Young. But by that time, the game was almost done and dusted. India has lost many wickets. Even Jadeja and Ashwin, they are not delivering. Especially Ravindra Jadeja, in the last few innings, has not looked good with the ball. And Akshar Patel is sitting outside, warming the benches. Why not give him a chance? He's a much better batsman than Jadeja. And at this point of time, India needs to back up their bowling with some players who can bat as well. But let's be honest, the lower order cannot bat. The likes of Bumrah, Akashdeep still tried to bat today. They don't contribute too much with the bat. Now, look at the New Zealand batting lineup. Right after the tail, except for Will O'Rourke, every single player can bat. Every single player can bat. That's the difference. Even when you go to Australia, you will have Pat Cummins coming to bat at number 8. He's a proper batsman. Mitchell Stark, he can bat. Josh Hazelwood can hold the bat. Nathan Lyon can bat as well. So why is this important? Because those lower order players can score 30 to 40 runs. And that can be a difference in a close test match. And Indian players, they're always in a hurry to get out. So this is yet another issue that needs addressing. But for the moment, India have been humbled at home. They have been humiliated and they are on the verge of being whitewashed. No team has whitewashed India in the last 20 years at home. New Zealand might become the first team to whitewash India in their own backyard. It's a huge probability because the current Indian team doesn't have any confidence in their batting whatsoever. And no top order batsman is in any form. And Mitchell Santner just ran through the Indian top order in both the innings. And the chances of India playing the World Test Championship finals are diminishing by the day. They need to win 3 out of their last 7 test matches to qualify for the finals. And of those 7 test matches, 5 of them are in Australia. So you need to win at least 2 test matches or at least 1 test match in Australia and 1 test match in New Zealand. You have made it extremely difficult for yourself. It's highly unlikely now, unless India play out of their skin in Australia, they have practically no chance to qualify for the World Test Championship finals. At one point of time, it was a certainty. Now, with every passing hour, it has become obvious that that might not be the case. India might lose 3-0 to us in Australia. The results might get even worse because no one is in any kind of form. And if they lose 3-0 or if they lose say 3-1, then again chances of qualification for the WTC final diminishes even more. India have played in 2 World Test Championship finals. You have lost both of them, once to New Zealand and once to Australia. India might be the only team who would have qualified for 3 World Test Championship finals back to back. But we have messed it up somehow. That chance of that happening isn't there. Let me know in the comment section what you feel. And if you like the content, please like, share and subscribe to the channel.